Kamala did what Kamala always does. She just put her head down and she went to work.
Ah, yes. Now they're saying everything out loud, aren't they? It's a new day in America, and Kamala Harris will not be the President of the United States. And now, Led Zeppelin. It got so bad, FEMA sent Kamala $750. Very thoughtful. Wop, wop, wop. Yep. Yeah, I tell you, a lot of people are responding about the racist emails sent to young African-American Americans across the country at campuses and so on. And a lot of people, I think I compared it to Juicy Smollett, didn't I, early on? It's another fake. It's another fraud. Because, yeah, I cracked the code on that Juicy Smollett in no time in the felonious 51 letter. And this one with the racist text messages being sent to African Americans on college campuses and beyond. Who do you think has those phone lists? The Democrats do. That's who have those phone lists. This is the Democrats. Now, the FBI probably won't crack the case. But I tell you that the long knives are out for Sonia Sotomayor, and the drumbeat is getting louder. The Daily Beast has a headline this morning: Dems at war over secret SCOTUS plot to oust Sotomayor. I love how we all use these abbreviations now. SCOTUS, the Supreme Court of the United States, and POTUS, the President of the United States, and FLOTUS, the First Lady of the United States, and I won't put any nasty ones in there, but amazing stuff. And Politico Playbook this morning: Dems agonize over Sotomayor. They're trying to force her to resign so that Joe Biden and the Lizard King, Chuck Schumer, because they've lost control of the Senate, right? And if they don't do it now, if they don't force Sotomayor out now, and Trump is inaugurated on January 20th, and the Republicans take control of the Senate, then Sotomayor could resign or, be in failing health in January, and the Republicans would get to pick who replaces Sonia Sotomayor, who's 70 years old. She's not a relic, but she's not looking too fit, and amazing stuff. Fox News Justice Sonia Sotomayor faces pressure to retire ahead of Trump taking office. They're all over it. Yeah, we'll put Kamala in there. She can become a 60-year-old Supreme Court justice, and that'll be wonderful. They're all mental. Just amazing. Newsweek magazine: Justice Sonia Sotomayor faces renewed calls to retire after Trump win. Renewed calls. It's got to be weird to be heard today, huh? Pretty strange. I should also mention this because it's worthy of note. Did this on my Newsmax television show last night, 10 p.m. Eastern. The people at Politico, the left-wing Democrat Party front group called Politico, they wrote that Kamala Harris's campaign ended with at least $20 million in debt, even though it had raised over $1 billion and had $118 million in the bank as of October 16th. And Politico asks, well, how did that happen? What's going on there? Well, they went to Kamala Harris's very own deputy campaign manager, a guy named Rob Flaherty, who's wrong about everything. And Rob Flaherty, deputy campaign manager for Kamala, blamed his boss, the campaign chair, a woman named Jen O'Malley Dillon, which is misogyny. That's misogynist. He's a sexist. How dare you criticize a woman who's the campaign chair? And he says that Rob O'Malley, deputy campaign manager, says the campaign chair, Jen O'Malley Dillon, I'm quoting now, blew through $1 billion in a few months. And it was all Jen's idea to do the concerts. The concerts? Well, wait a minute. Because during the campaign, it's a celebrity wank-off, right? And they had Katy Perry and Eminem and Bruce Springsteen and Lizzo, and they had Lady Gaga, and they had Beyonce show up I guess just once, and she didn't sing, right? And everybody was upset because she didn't sing. But they're spending all this money. But listen to this, because it gets better. The deputy campaign manager, Rob Flaherty, he said that the campaign was prioritizing and spending money, should have been prioritizing and spending money on social media and other campaign priorities. But instead, they were getting photo ops with celebrities like Bruce Springsteen and Beyonce, and it got them nowhere, and they lost. So Rob Flaherty of the Kamala Harris campaign said, there is a massive scandal here worthy of an audit. Well, what happened to the $1 billion that you guys had? And it's her own deputy campaign manager who's saying, we need to audit this because, hundreds of millions of dollars disappeared, which would be fine if they won, right? But they lost. So that's the problem. Yes, sir. That's it. Also, we got all kinds of crazy going on here. ABC fake news in Washington, D.C. with the headline, the Democrats they just want conflict and stuff. November 7th, that's yesterday. 82-year-old Washington woman arrested for suspected hate crime. 82-year-old woman arrested in Washington, D.C. for a hate crime after allegedly assaulting Trump supporters. An 82-year-old woman. She's. They should put her on the Supreme Court. Maybe that'd be the way to go for them. These people, can I just say, these people, they are really something, and this is perfectly normal for them. An 82-year-old white woman. ABC News put the 82-year-old woman's race in the first couple of words. An 82-year-old white woman was arrested for a suspected hate crime and assault following an altercation with Trump supporters in which she confronted one Trump supporter about voting for the former president based on her skin color, you see. Now, the incident occurred a day before the general election at an intersection where several Trump supporters were gathered, and just amazing stuff. In Edmonds, Washington, the state of Washington, my apologies, about 17 miles north of Seattle, Washington. The suspect, who was not publicly identified by police, is accused of pushing and punching a 55-year-old female Trump supporter after getting into a verbal altercation. Edmonds police said she's accused of then punching on the chin a 66-year-old female Trump supporter who intervened while demonstrating how she pushed the initial supporter, according to the probable cause statement. Neither victim suffered significant injury or required medical treatment, the Edmonds Police Department said in a press release. The suspect has not been charged in the incident, but prosecutors' office spokesman told ABC News on Thursday that the case will be reviewed by the prosecutor's office for any charging decision.
I approached her and I said, "What? I want to know why you're voting for Trump. That's the only reason I wanted to know. That's the only thing." And I said, "Because you're brown skin."
Gina Powell says she was on the receiving end of that. She told me she'd never seen the 82-year-old until she was in her face.
Just shocked that just the presence of me, and she made it very clear it was my skin color.
Gina was with her friend Mary Jennings doing this, supporting Donald Trump, waving flags and signs, when she said the woman confronted her over her political beliefs.
Now, the important element here, I'm sorry, is the 82-year-old woman is white, and she doesn't support Trump, so she's a violent criminal and a hate crimester. The woman that she's assaulting is an African-American woman who's supporting Trump. So you got a black woman supporting Trump and a white woman who's a Trump derangement syndrome Trump hater, and she's assaulting people all over the place day before Election Day for coming out, rah, rah, we're voting for Trump. And the 82-year-old white woman is a hate crimester.
The woman confronted her over her political beliefs and race.
And then that's when she shoved me, pushed me back, and I said, don't touch me. And then, not even a second, she just popped me right in my chin.
Here's
Wow, see, just absolutely crazy. I hate the racism in this country. I hate how people are treated, the suspect continued. And then she committed a racist racial assault, right? And the white 82-year-old says, I hate racism in this country. I hate how people are treated, right? The suspect continued. And so I'm wondering, why would someone with brown skin support this man? And that was my question. And then she hauled off and assaulted the woman of color.
Here's how the woman arrested, who hasn't been charged, described it to police.
Was to push her away, and I put my hand to her chin.
And that's when Mary stepped in.
She punched me, but she connected and, it slammed my jaw shut.
Both women are physically okay, but it's been an emotional toll.
Hispanic woman and black woman assaulted by white woman, 82-year-old white woman, because the black woman and the Latina, or Latinx, as Democrats like to say, the Latina, they're Trump supporters, so the white liberal attacked and violently assaulted them. Wow. Just amazing stuff. I said, why? Because of the color of my skin? She's like, you should know better than to support Trump. She said, why? Because the color of my skin? You're a racist, said the black woman. Then she came up and pushed me. And then she hit me in the beep and chin. just amazing. And that's okay, because Democrat Party violence is normal. January 6th was nothing compared to what the Democrats did 500 times in the year preceding January 6th. Just amazing stuff. Yes, sir. All right, now, speaking of lying, crazy, lunatic people, let's go to yesterday in the White House briefing. Fox News, Jacqui Heinrich, a wonderful news reporter there, decided to ask Karringe, hey, wait a minute, Joe Biden just came out to the Rose Garden and said we're going to have a happy, peaceful transfer of power, and he was all, he had a spring in his step for the first time in decades, and he was cheerful and chipper, and he's going to support the guy that he called a threat to democracy and a fascist, and you guys are calling him Hitler, and now you're acting like none of that ever happened, Jacqui Heinrich began.
This administration message to millions of Americans that they're going to wake up the day after the election if Trump won and have their rights stripped away, that democracy would crumble, and the president said today we're going to be okay. So how do you square that?
I can square that. I'm going to square that in a way that hopefully makes sense, because I've been answering this question multiple times. The American people made the decision. There was an election 2 nights ago. There was.
Dodging.
And it was a free and fair election. And we respect the election process.
Like in the Philippines. It's a statement like we're respecting the election in the Philippines. And she completely ignored the actual question and went with platitudes. Well, honestly, the question is, now our rights would be stripped away. Women, children, abortion, immigrants who are illegal aliens, and so on. It continued.
Americans spoke. And so the job of the president is to make sure we respect that. The job of the president is to make sure that we have a peaceful transfer of power. That is what the American people deserve. And that's what we're going to, it's not complicated. It's truly as simple as that.
You didn't answer the question.
As simple as that.
Answer the question.
Americans spoke. Americans spoke.
Hang on, that was that same one again. That's a crazy thing.
The president's going to make sure that the Trump transition has what it needs. Why? Because the president wants to lead by example. It's not complicated. It really isn't. That's important.
Example is the message to people who are fearful based on what the messaging was about the stakes.
Well, now you're just twisting everything around, and that's really unfair. No, it is. No, Jacqui, it's unfair.
No, it's not. No, it's you guys are saying he's Hitler, he's a threat to democracy, and now you're acting like it's nothing, like none of that was ever said.
I've been standing here trying to be very respectful to what happened the last 2 nights ago.
You should self-immolate.
Respectful. I've been standing here saying that we respect the decision that the American people made. I've been standing here and saying that the president's going to put the American people first. I've been standing here talking about how the president's going to make sure that they get what they deserve.
She's not going to stand here for long.
Of power. I do not appreciate having my words twisted. That is, I have been very clear,
now she's walking away.
clear about what the president wants to do.
Packing
and the
up.
Vice President, we want to make sure that we deliver for the American people.
What a snake.
They deserve a peaceful transfer of power, and that's what you're going to see. Thanks, everybody.
And then she just walks away. And no other reporter jumps in and says, wait a minute, Cringe. You guys painted him as a threat to democracy, and now you're acting like you never said anything. Not a single stinking, filthy, corrupt, lazy, ignorant reporter in the room raised their voice and said, well, wait a minute, Karringe. This is what was said, and now you're acting like it was never said. So was it not true when you said it, or what? And not a single, I had to bite my tongue, not a single reporter in that room stepped up and did their stinking job. Wow. They are truly awful. They should all be gassed. Just go ahead and say gassed. They should be gassed. You know, in the camps, when the camps come up. Because they said we're going to have camps and everybody's going to be taken away. Democrat members of Congress and everybody else going to be arrested, thrown in gulags. And now all of that's just melted away. None of that was, it was all just hysterical mental illness. You know that an unforgettable meal brings people together, doesn't it? And nothing makes a meal unforgettable like the unrivaled quality and delicious flavor of Omaha steaks. You can taste the difference and save 50% off the entire website during their semi-annual sale at omahasteaks.com. Plus, because you hang with me, you're going to get another $30 off when you use the code PLANT. Their legendary steaks are selected from the finest grain-finished beef and superior marbling and hand-cut by master butchers in America's heartland and then instantly flash-frozen and sent to you at the moment of carving to retain the rich, juicy flavor of Omaha steaks. And you save 50% off the entire site. The entire website, mouth-watering steaks and more during the semi-annual sale at omahasteaks.com. And you get another $30 off because you know me and you use the code PLANT. 50% off savings plus another $30 off at OMAHA, omahasteaks.com with the code PLANT. Minimum purchase may apply. Visit omahasteaks.com for details. Yeah, and she just walked away, and not a single other fake reporter in the room said, well, wait a minute. She's got a point here. The news media is the most corrupt institution in America. Look out, Sonia Sotomayor. Also, the radical left extremist, racist organ harvesters are plotting a march on Washington for January 18th, 2 days before Inauguration Day. They say that they'll have 50,000 people, LGBTQ, women's rights. I assume Bill Clinton will be leading the march, and they can't get Jeffrey Epstein anymore, but maybe Harvey Weinstein could be there. Yeah, the Washington Post, contacted by all their left-wing, radical, rioting, looting, arsonist friends. Thousands expected for People's March. I love the communist Chinese language they like to use. The People's March. Each People's March of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. And the workers of the world will People's March on Washington. So thousands expected for People's March on Washington ahead of Trump's inauguration. Organizers estimate 50,000 people will attend. Just pulled it out of thin air, that number. But they can get 50,000 mooches and, parasites to show up for free ice cream, which is actually somebody else pays for it, ice cream, It's not free. It's just that somebody else pays for it. Organizers, 50,000 will attend, part of an expected surge of protests from across the political spectrum as the nation's seat of power transitions to Trump. But you guys, the thing is they've convinced half the country who are, tardos that the They're transitioning to Hitler and fascism and Nazism and everybody that voted for it. And it's madness. Then you got 82-year-old white women assaulting African-American women and Latino women because they support Trump. They're violent and crazy. Tens of thousands of people expected in Washington, D.C. ahead of Inauguration Day in January to protest President-elect Donald Trump and policy priorities that they say will undermine the rights of women, immigrants. You mean the rights of illegal aliens? There's no issue with immigrants. The LGBTQ plus community and racial and religious minorities. I'm sorry, you guys prefer to discriminate against racial and religious majorities. And, of course, Asians. You got to discriminate against Asians and Ivy League schools and all that stuff. The demonstration, dubbed the People's March on Washington, because they got to use communist terminology, is scheduled for January 18th, 2 days before the inauguration. It's being organized by leading, as the Washington Post says, civil rights, that's racist groups, racial justice, more racist groups, reproductive health organizations, abortion fanatics, including the Women's March and Abortion Access. Now, the Women's March is now an organization because 4 years ago, they're the ones that showed up and said, yes, I've thought a lot about blowing up the White House, Madonna and all that stuff. They're a celebrity wank-off, The Women's March and Abortion Access, the ACLU, Planned Parenthood, National Women's Law Center. The organizers estimate 50,000 people. It would probably be 200,000 because the lunatics always show up in numbers. Crazy lunatics. You know how they are. Yes, sir.
We persist and we march. We march in pink hats. We march.
How's Pocahontas with her funny-looking hat? She's not an Indian. She's not a Native American. She's not Cherokee. She's a fake. She's a fraud. She's a liar. And it's all based on race and ethnicity, always with these people, isn't it? And it's so terrible for women that Donald Trump just selected his chief of staff, the White House chief of staff, the first ever woman to be made chief of staff at the White House. No Democrat. Susie Wiles, and she's an amazing. Honestly, I mean, I've got to say I was not familiar with her, but she is. She seems pretty amazing and very bright and capable and somewhat ferocious in a good way, and that's all wonderful. And also, it's kind of fun that her father, the famous sports broadcaster Pat Summerall, because her maiden name is Summerall, as you might expect. And Pat Summerall, who is no longer with us, but was an NFL player. He played professional football. Then he was a CBS. I remember him as a CBS sports broadcaster primarily, but he also had Fox and ESPN sports broadcaster, Pat Summerall. Very famous sports broadcaster, and a really nice guy and good guy. And his daughter is now about to become the first ever woman to be White House chief of staff. Does that mean Jimmy Kimmel can stop crying now? Can he, get fresh diapers?
Let's be honest, it was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go.
There are millions, but that's okay.
For health care,
he's
for
trying.
Our climate.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, he's going to the gulag, so forget about him. He's first a boxcar, then a rail spur, then a gulag, and we'll never see him again. Not going to see him no more. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, so Susie Wiles, and in fact, President Trump announced her and introduced her and brought her up on the stage at his victory speech, and it was a good moment. His future chief of staff, the first woman to hold the very, very powerful Washington position.
Let me also express my tremendous appreciation for Susie and Chris, the job you did. Susie, come here, Susie. Chris, come here, Chris. Susie likes to stay sort of in the back, let me tell you. The Ice Maiden. We call her the Ice Maiden.
The Ice Maiden. They like the Handmaiden's Tale, the Democrats. Chris
Susie likes
LaCivita.
to stay in the background. She's not in the background.
Chris LaCivita is the other person, and they've both been very involved in the campaign, and they won the presidency, and people like her, and people respect, even Democrats who hate everyone respect her, and respect her intellect, her brain power, her seriousness, her smarts, and they hate everybody, but they like her. And Chris LaCivita, very successful business associate of President Trump's, of Donald Trump's, and so on. So we got all kinds of stuff going on. And the first woman. So I guess Mark Cuban, who famously said that Trump doesn't surround himself with strong women.
Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever. It's just that simple. They're intimidating to him.
Yeah. We should send this nice young lady up to deal with Mark Cuban, and Jimmy Kimmel having his little cry fest meltdown. Amazing stuff. Man, oh, man. I tell you, and the Democrats coming after Sonia Sotomayor. It's funny. Jonathan Turley this morning, who's smart on these issues, says that it would be incredibly stupid, his words, incredibly stupid for the Democrats to convince Sonia Sotomayor to step down at this moment. And I got to tell you, if she stepped down and walked away, and then the Republicans could hold things up in the Senate until Trump came in, it would be hilarious, just hilarious, to have Trump get another Supreme Court pick as a first step, because they're such creeps. And they're just drunk with power. And they try to drive everything into the courts and push it to the Supreme Court because they had a lock on the Supreme Court for so long. And it's lawfare. And again, the Letitia James, New York Attorney General, the state Attorney General, going after Trump. And no sense of irony, these people. While just days ago, they're yelling that Trump is going to use the state power against his political enemies, as they are actively in the middle of using state power against their political enemies. And they say that's what fascists do. And it is what fascists do, and it's what you fascists have been doing for the last 4 years, pursuing your political enemies, just by the way. And it's a little bit of a, there's this exchange that President Trump had with Dr. Phil. Do I want to get to this? Let me put that on pause for right now, because it's a minute long and there's a lot of stuff. But it's the old the fake. They lie about. Oh, he said there are good people on both sides. He said he's going to be a dictator, and they just lie about everything. They take a fraction of a sentence and eliminate the rest of the sentence, and they lie to everybody. And he was asked about, oh, you're going to get revenge on your political enemies, and he told Dr. Phil basically that that's a lot of hooey months ago. It's all just ridiculous. I'm telling you. You know what I do want to get to? Let's get to, because in Chicago, 2 Jewish students were violently attacked day before yesterday by Jew haters, I think it would be fair to say, masked assailants, and dressed in black. And, there might be Middle Eastern, might just be liberals from the suburbs attacking 2 identifiably Jewish people near DePaul University in Chicago. And the police released the photos. But at the same time, while that's going on in the United States and Democrats are raising generations to chant from the river to the sea, which is the Hamas chant, and genocidally racist and anti-Semitic, and the Democrats endorse it all over the place. But in Amsterdam last night, there was a soccer match, a soccer game, and amazingly, there was an Israeli team, and there were Israeli supporters of the Israeli soccer team. And after the game, a violent mob of Jew haters attacked the Israeli soccer team fans, the supporters, again identifiably Jewish, throwing people into the canal and in front of train tracks and absolutely crazy stuff. Young men being thrown to the ground by violent mobs of Jew haters. This in the city of Anne Frank House. Anne Frank House. They're shouting Jewish IDF. The Israeli football fan describes being attacked in Amsterdam by violent mobs. And the Israeli soccer fans, many of whom had Israeli flags. Israeli football fan described being attacked by several men in overnight violence that Amsterdam police say involved youths on scooters, crying out hit and run and attacking Adi Rubin, 24-year-old, and Maccabi from Tel Aviv and all this stuff going on. And one young guy was thrown in a canal, and they're screaming at him, "You have to say, free Palestine, or they're not going to let him out of the canal."
Say free Palestine and we go. Free Palestine. Good. Come here up, bitch. Come.
This is what rifles were made for. Again, this is the city of Anne Frank House, where Anne Frank, hid in an attic because the Socialist Workers' Party was there. And the Democrats love going around calling everybody Nazis. They are inciting this in the United States of America as never before. Young man was attacked, thrown to the ground, beaten, kicked by a violent mob, including a little kid like 8 years old running in and kicking a man being beaten by a mob on the ground. Stay. More than 10 men came after him, and his friend asked him where they were from. They shouted, Jewish, IDF, and then they attacked him. They started messing with me. I realized I had to run, but it was dark, and I didn't know where to go.
That's Palestine, huh? That's Gaza, motherfuckers.
And we had to bleep some of the other, and they're doing it in cursing in English. English really is the universal language, isn't it? And we're exporting things like Mamma Jamma. I'll just clean it up, the Mamma Jamma thing. And one guy thrown in front of the train tracks with the third rail.
For the children, motherfucker.
Say it again with the Mamma Jamma. They got the Mamma Jamma all over the place.
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine. It's Palestine. It's not Palestine. Don't say Palestine. Yeah, and that's all. And honestly, we've got mob violence all over the place in Amsterdam because the Jews and all of that stuff. And also Geert Wilders, the politician there in Holland, says a pogrom in the streets of Amsterdam, he tweeted out, to massacre the Jews. We have become the Gaza of Europe. Muslims with Palestinian flags hunting down Jews, Geert Wilders said. I will not accept that. Never. The authorities will be held accountable for their failure to protect the Israeli citizens. Never again. Just amazing stuff. It's going on in Amsterdam. It's Western Europe. Western Europe has been many cities and a number of countries overrun by Muslims from the Middle East and from North Africa who are hostile to Western Europe, to European standards and norms, just like the Democrat Party is. The Enlightenment is under assault. There are hundreds of years, centuries of occupation by the Moors, and they had to be driven out, and history repeats itself. Guess what? They're back. Could the fate of America's children be tied to the fate of our nation going forward? Well, of course. Much like abortionists end the lives of the unborn all day, every day, the left seems determined to snuff out everything else. Preborn, a great organization, Preborn, stands as a beacon of hope and light for the most defenseless among us, preborn babies. Every day, Preborn's network of clinics helps to rescue, on average, more than 200 unborn babies while surrounding the expectant mothers with love and with God and offering free ultrasounds. Witnessing the miracle of life growing inside of them has never been more crucial as we navigate through this time of moral decay and decline. Will you please join Preborn in helping to protect the least among us? For just $28, you can sponsor an ultrasound and give a young mother the chance to choose life. not only for her baby, but also for herself. An ultrasound typically doubles the baby's chance at a long, happy, and prosperous life. To donate securely, all you have to do is dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, the keyword is baby, or you can go online to preborn.com/plant. That's preborn.com/PLANTE. Thank you. Yeah, so, the Democrats, they're really, and they're calling us Nazis. No sense of irony. I hate being right as often as I am. Fun. My friend Jeff says, Joe Biden undermined and sabotaged Kamala Harris in her presidential campaign. He would never nominate her for the Supreme Court, even if Sonia Sotomayor stepped aside, which she's not likely to do. And as for these racist text messages being sent out now, NBC Fake News is saying some of them are signed the Trump administration, which only further proves that it's the Democrat Party with their own mailing lists committing political sabotage like Bakari Sellers wants. He wants everybody to go home with their heads about to explode and have a hostile weekend because the left is here.
I want people's heads to explode this morning so we go into the weekend just knowing that the chaos has not ended just yet.
Well, I've just learned that he's self-immolated today, and he's set himself into a ball of fire. And Bakari Sellers is no longer with us. So sad. All right, I have almost no time, but let's go real quick to Anton, calling from Washington, D.C. Anton, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
What's up, Chris Plant?
Not a lot. What do you say, buddy?
Like I was telling you the other piece, she got smoked, and she's still sizzling with it in. I'm going to play with my grandson's trash truck. Take out the paper and the trash, yakety yak. Don't talk back.
It's a great week. It's been a great week. Hasn't it been a great week, Anton?
Yes, it has. Very good week.
Wonderful.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Winner, chicken dinner is absolutely right. And I got to tell you, we're talking about ending the war between Russia and Ukraine. We're talking about ending the war in Israel against Israel. We're talking about a booming economy. The stock market hit a new high. We have the first woman as White House chief of staff, who is a great, great woman. She's been very successful in politics in Florida with Ron DeSantis and beyond. And it's been a great, great week. I'm already arranging for cocktail hour this evening.